everybody, I am Tiffany, and today I am doing another book review. Let's go. It's time for another book review. I should really get like a theme song. Thank you for joining me today, though. I'm super excited to be doing this. I know it's been kind of a weird string of books, probably, because I had Picture of Dorian Gray and then Anne of Green Gables. Now, all of a sudden, this book, which, by the way, I'm reviewing, The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I really should actually know that author's name pronunciation, but I don't. Let's just go with Frances Burnett. There we go. Probably a little bit weird just because I've been doing a lot of more contemporary, fantasy, dystopia, modern books, and this all of a sudden happens where I have like kind of 3 classics in a row. And I think I explained it in one of my book haul videos that I would be reading these because these have been on my shelf forever, and I felt really bad that I had never read them before, so I finally got around to them and I decided to just like knock them all out at once. So that's why you're seeing these 3 classics all at once, all of a sudden. After this book, I'm going back to my more modern books, and I'm super excited because I love classics, don't get me wrong. I love reading them, especially when I haven't read them, and when it's outside of school, it's 10 times more fun. There's something about classics that kind of puts me in a reading slump sometimes if I read too many of them at once, because I'm like, I want to get back to more fast-paced. Classics tend to be a little bit slower paced, which isn't bad. You get more character development, which is awesome, and I love character development. I wanted a little bit more fast-paced stuff. And again, I was coming from a lot of twists and turns. Something that's kind of great about some of the classics, the ones that I've read or whatever, it's not really anything super duper duper shocking that I'm like, what at? But it's still overall really solid and strong, and I like that. But I also love my twists and turns. So I'm excited to get back to my twists and turns because I know what book is next. You don't. It's going to be a surprise till it comes out. I'm excited. I'm so excited for this next book that's coming out. But I'm also super duper excited to talk about The Secret Garden. This is a child's classic, I think. I've had this since like kindergarten graduation. Isn't that? I had actually tried to read it a really long time ago. I remember that because I remember the character and knowing that she was an orphan. But I don't think I got that far because that was all I remembered of it. I wasn't sure what to expect from this. Again, I had just come off Anne of Green Gables, and if you don't know what Anne of Green Gables is, it's another children's classic, but it's definitely more lighthearted. So I was going into The Secret Garden from my little tiny knowledge of it. I figured it was going to be a darker tone. I mean, it wasn't as like joyful and childlike wonder as much as Anne of Green Gables, because Anne of Green Gables was childlike wonder overboard in amazingness. This one still had that childlike wonder. It was just in a very different, more calm tone than Anne of Green Gables was. And for those of you who want statistics, The Secret Garden got a 4.11 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars myself. It's not that long of a book. I'm trying to think. It's like 270 pages, which actually isn't that bad. I would definitely say go pick it up and give it a shot. I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, but again, I'm very easily entertained by books, and it is a classic, and I think it's a nice classic, and it has a lot of good messages in there. Like, that was the main thing. Like, there weren't a lot of twists and turns and stuff, but there's a lot of good messages that I really appreciated in this book. That'd be one reason to read it. And then also there's a play on it and a movie with Maggie Smith, apparently, which I didn't know about until recently. She got nominated for an Academy Award for that, so I'm gonna need to watch that. For any other reason, read it for that, and then go watch the play or musical, or go watch the movie, and compare and contrast like I love to do. I love to do that. It's one of my favorite things, and I haven't done a compare and contrast in a while, but there's some coming. I have some planned out. Don't worry. For those of you who don't know what The Secret Garden is about, it follows this girl named Mary Lennox who lived in India, and her parents both end up dying, and so she has to go live with a relative of hers in England who lives on like the moors in this giant mansion, so it's a really gloomy place, but she finds out about the family history. You can read the book actually to find out exactly how it all comes together, but basically a secret garden is involved, this garden that nobody has gone into for 10 years. So Mary is determined to get into that garden. Adventure ensues and characters come and friendships develop, and relationships. Woo! Not romantic. There's no romantic stuff. They're too young. They're too young. They're way too young for that. It's friendship relationships. It's not really a whole lot I can tell you without spoiling you. I'll give it a chance. Again, it's not everybody's type of book, I think. It's not action-packed or anything like that. It's more about the messages that it instills in there. One thing I will say, and I will kind of warn you, is that the characters themselves are very different than your typical protagonist, because Mary, I mean, she's likable, but she doesn't start off likable. Like, they tell you she's like the bratty kid that nobody likes. And that I really liked too, is that you had a very different personality from your typical protagonist, especially like coming from Anna Green Gables, who you love like the instant you meet her, even though she talks way too much. But I'm just warning you, that might throw you off at first, because she's not instantly likable. You have to get through the book to really appreciate her. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are a non-spoilery, doilery person, come back when you've read this book, or, you know, if you aren't going to read the book, watch the movie or the musical and see the differences if you want. I don't know, it's your life, or you might not do any of that and you just want to stick around to stick around. That's fine too. Do whatever you like. Thank you for joining me. If you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you leave now, because I'm going to spoil you willy-nilly. Have an awesome rest of your day. Goodbye, and let me know if you come across any secret gardens, because I want a secret garden. Bye! The secret garden. Mary's character from the very beginning kind of threw me off, but it also got me really excited because it was different. You can tell she's a brat, and you do give a little sympathy towards her because her mom wasn't a good mom at all. Other than that, you really don't feel that bad. I mean, you're sad that she's an orphan, I guess, but you're like, there's no need for you to act like that and act like a little brat. Get yourself together however old you are. And I really loved her journey overall, seeing how she started and then what she became. I thought that was really, really cool. She doesn't get rid of the brattiness completely. They never say she's a wholesome, like, perfect child or anything, but it was cool to see her go completely from this unlikable character to a person that you really like and want to see what she's going to do next. That's hard to do. When you give a character automatically that nobody is really supposed to like, it sometimes is really hard to make people kind of transform into liking them, because you're kind of stuck at the beginning and what they maybe have done at the beginning, whatever they did to make you know I like him at the beginning. I thought all the characters were really, really well developed. That's what I really loved, is I felt like there was a great like background story going on. All of these character developments and how they affect Mary were really, really cool. I just loved it. And I know that there weren't a lot of twists and turns, and me being the twisty and turny type person was always expecting a twist or turn. Like, I was like, oh, her uncle's gonna find the garden. They're gonna do the garden together. I thought for a second Colin wasn't even her actual cousin, that he wasn't actually the child, that he was like Ben Weatherstaff's child. I'll explain that a little bit because that sounds cuckoo, I know. I was thinking all these theories and they were completely wrong and there was nothing in it at all. And it was just funny to like look back on myself and be like, wow, I really thought that for 2 seconds. That's great. One of the first characters that you meet is Martha. I really liked Martha. She is one of those characters, though, I wish that she was in the book a little bit more, because she's the first character that you meet, and she's the first one that really starts changing how Mary acts. She's not afraid to like say what she thinks to Mary, where Mary's used to people just at her beck and call. And Martha establishes that she's not that. Mary needs to learn how to do this stuff by herself. Like, Mary needs to learn how to put her own clothes on. It's kind of ridiculous that you don't know how to put your own clothes on at your age. I just wish that she had more of a part in it all. Like, I really wanted Martha to be brought into the secret, and she never really was. And her little brother was, and her mother was, but Martha herself wasn't. Once Mary discovered Colin, Martha just kind of disappeared a little bit, and I was like, what happened to Martha? Gone. I love him so much. Oh my gosh! So characters like that can also teeter on the line of like them being too nice and annoying and soft. You know what I mean? You know those characters that's like, you're so nice, but oh my gosh, you need to toughen up. You being too nice to all these people are what's causing all of the horrible stuff to happen. You don't get them often, but you have them every once in a while. Colin wasn't that. It's this person, if you describe him to someone, they're gonna be like, what the heck is this? Because it's like, oh yeah, it's this boy who's like really good with animals, and he has a pet bird and a fox and squirrels, and they all follow him, and he can speak to birds, like he can speak their language. That just sounds really like, what is going on? Dagon was a super fun character to learn about, and it really got me excited to meet him because there was a build up to that. I want to know who he is, I want to meet him, and I want to meet all his furry friends. He was just a really awesome personality overall. I was hoping maybe for tiny romance. I'm a romance person. I'm not a romance person book-wise. Like, I'm not gonna read a story based completely on romance. That's super cheesy a little bit. I get why those are popular, but no. I like the more action-packed ones where romance just tends to happen between two characters and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so adorable, but there's more important stuff than besides the romance. We're gonna pretend that Mary and Dagon ended up getting together and they got married and she went to live with him. Oh my gosh, they could have had a wedding in the garden. Can we make a sequel? The other characters that you have Ben Weatherstaff. Ben Weatherstaff was interesting. I thought he was really relatable. I kept imagining him as Herschel from The Walking Dead because I've been watching a lot of Walking Dead recently. He seemed perfect for it. He's not as grumpy, but the description-wise, I felt like it matched pretty perfectly. Maybe we're gonna make it that Ben Weatherstaff is Herschel before The Walking Dead, though that's a long time period jump. Oh well. He introduced Mary to the Robin. The Robin was really, really cute. I liked the use of animals. I love animals, so any interaction with animals makes me happy. The final character that's really important, I think, is Colin. Now, the discovery of Colin was definitely the biggest twist in the book. I could kind of see it coming because as soon as they said someone's crying, there's like a child in this house that probably belongs to the uncle. And it kind of actually reminded me of Jane Eyre. She like sees strange things in the night and hears strange noises, and it happens to be Rochester's wife. And I'm like, is there like a secret wife now? Is this a theme? Like someone's locked away and we don't know who it is and we're gonna get betrayed somehow in this child book in the end? I dealt with this in Jane Eyre. I'm not dealing with it again. And I had seen the movie before the book for Jane Eyre, so I was still yelling at the character to not trust Rochester because I knew that he was hiding a wife. I'm sorry if I spoiled Jane Eyre for you. Colin, though, I liked Colin, but I didn't. He was the most annoying character to me out of everybody. And I know, like, at the beginning, again, like Mary, he's supposed to be annoying and you be like, what the heck is wrong with this kid? Like, he's worse than Mary was at the beginning of this book. It didn't have the same effect as much as Mary's development. And maybe because you are with Mary longer than you are with Colin. Because, like, Mary's development, by the end, I really liked Mary and I was really happy for her. Colin, I was kind of happy for him, but I was still really annoyed by him. He still controlled people, so I didn't have the same affection and appreciation for how he grew compared to Mary. Okay, so going back to my theory. So I know I mentioned earlier that I thought that Colin was Ben Weatherstaff's child. I had good reason, alright? I did. Like, if this was in a modern book, this could have been plausible. Ben Weatherstaff had a lot of affection for Colin's mom, and it was like a friendship affection. But then there's this moment where he's just kind of staring at him and saying like, my boy, my boy. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, he's Ben Weatherstaff's son. Dun dun dun, because it's gonna be a huge reveal, and I'm waiting for it, and I'm waiting for it, and it never comes. What I liked about The Secret Garden is that everything they said they were going to do, it was described really thoroughly, and I really liked that and appreciated that, and I felt like I got every single aspect and I wasn't sitting there wondering, man, I wish I could have had more of a description on that. But I didn't like that there was a lack of confrontation, and I know that sounds bad, but I feel like the book kind of built up to that, especially the last build up with her uncle. The whole point is that she's told at the very beginning of this book that nobody has gone in this garden for 10 years and to not go searching for it because he doesn't want anybody in the garden because his wife died and that was where she died, so he didn't want anybody in there. So my brain automatically thinks there's going to be a confrontation because she's going to be in the garden or she's gonna find it, and then he's gonna find her in it. Especially with how quick she found it, I'm like, there's gotta be a confrontation at the end where he gets mad at her or something. There's this whole giant buildup. They're keeping it a secret, and especially since they're not really supposed to be in there, they keep bringing more people in to the secret. And then finally you have that moment where Mr. Craven decides to go home. You saw the nice reunion with him and his son, which I really liked because it's like, oh, they need to reconcile. But I wanted a little bit of a confrontation where he gets mad at Mary. Literally, Mary has 2 interactions with him in this whole book. And the first one is when he asks to see her. The second one is at the very end of the book. I kind of wanted them to interact more because I felt like that was the whole purpose, was that like it's this mysterious person you have to live with, but he's barely even there. And I'm like, oh man, I wanted more of Mr. Craven. You know how like Mr. Rochester type feel. He's not there at the beginning maybe, but then you're introduced to him and then you kind of build a relationship with him. But not Jane Eyre style. Let's not go to Jane Eyre style. He starts to treat her like his daughter and stuff like that. Like I wanted to see that, and that wasn't there. And then there was one other thing I wanted to be revealed to a character, but that didn't happen. And that was because Colin's mother died in that garden. So I'm waiting and waiting for him to find out that that's where his mom died. Like when Ben Weatherstaff sees them, I literally thought like what was going to happen was Ben Weatherstaff was going to mention something about that branch, and then Colin was going to get upset because he would realize that his mom died right there. I wouldn't have been happy that he found out, but I would have been like on the edge of my seat waiting to see his reaction because it's Colin. Something was mentioned and it could have developed into something more, but it never really did develop into something more. It's still really good and the character developments were really awesome, but there was just no confrontation, and the hints of it that kind of come through didn't. But again, like I said in the non-spoilery section, I know that this book is a lot more about the message of it than more so the plot and twists and turns, because he could have done a lot of twists and turns with this. I can't exactly pinpoint the exact message that it's trying to give out, but I do feel like that there is one. A childlike wonder is really important in your life. You have these 2 characters that were very much unchildlike, and that childlike wonderment and them being open to it is what makes them better, and to believe. A strong belief that something can truly happen that makes it happen. And I partially believe that in real life, is that like if you truly believe something will happen, I mean you have to work for it, make it happen, but it will. If you strongly and firmly believe it, it will. It's all about that childlike fantasy and believing in that. And in a sense, it's kind of like saying there is kind of magic in the world. It just might not be exactly the way they describe it, but it is there, and you just gotta believe. Like in Peter Pan, you gotta believe in Tinkerbell. I just felt like that was a really good message overall, and like to not focus on the doom and gloom and think about the positive things and enjoy life and appreciate the small things that happen in life. That was a big thing, I think. A big part of it was them growing this garden and seeing their reaction to just the tiniest little bud coming out of the ground and watching it grow and turn into this magnificent garden. That was beautiful to me and make you really realize how you just need to appreciate those little things in life. You don't realize it, but sometimes the smallest things are the most important things in life. You know, one thing that I do every day I get home is that I list 3 positive things that happened in a day, because I truly feel that. Like even if it's a horrible day for some reason, I do that because I feel like it's good to realize the positive things that are happening in your life and to realize all the little positive things that are happening around you all the time. I did appreciate the message. I know I wanted my twists and turns, but I appreciated the message overall. A very interesting read, very reflective read. Like that's one thing, is that it makes you reflect on your own life and be like, man, do I appreciate a garden like that? Thank you for joining me today. If you have any other book or movie recommendations or any other type of video you'd like to see, like a Q&A or a tag or anything like that, let me know in the comments below. And I really do love every single one of you for watching these videos, and I love the support. And I know sometimes I can be inconsistent with my videos sometimes, but I try my best, and I do these for you because they're so much fun to do, and I love seeing your reactions to them. So thank you so much. Love you all, and have an awesome day, evening, night, afternoon, whatever time of the day it is, and don't forget to be awesome. All right. Goodbye!